Hey, you have a good film. Thank you.
Buongiorno, siamo qua per la conferenza stampa del nostro film fuori concorso Coup de Chance e prima di cominciare vi presento gli ospiti al tavolo a partire dalla mia destra in fondo, il direttore della fotografia Vittorio Storaro,
Non sono un direttore della fotografia, sono un autore della fotografia cinematografica. Venezia deve imparare a aggiornarsi. Questi sono nomi di 50 anni fa. Grazie.
l'interprete Lou de Laâge, lo sceneggiatore e regista del film Woody Allen, e l'interprete Valérie Lemercier. Before handing the question to the public, I like to start with a question to Mr. Allen. You had worked in Film Paris before. What led you to decide to actually make a movie in French?
Oh, well, when I was younger, the films that were the most impressive to us when we were all starting out and wanting to be filmmakers were the European cinema, all the French films, the Italian films, Swedish films, and we all wanted to be Europeans. We wanted to make films like Europeans, and I've always tried that my whole life, making films, and I was going to make this film with two Americans living in Paris. And then I thought to myself, well, it's my 50th film, and I love Paris so much that I would make it in French. I don't speak French, but that didn't bother me because all the actors spoke English. And so I thought I would make it completely in French, and I had a wonderful time making, and I then felt that I was a genuine European filmmaker. I had seen all those films years ago by Truffaut and Godard and René and Renoir, and so I wanted to join in that group and make a film in French, and I did, and I had a lot of cooperation and help doing it, and that is the film that you saw.
And for Valérie and Lou, and then I promise I'll come to you. And for Valérie and Lou, how was it to work with a filmmaker who's known to give an enormous freedom to his actors, and also also because of the language of it?
La première fois que Woody nous a réunis dans un hôtel tous les quatre, il nous a dit je ne vous parlerai pas, je ne vous dirigerai pas, vous vous débrouillez avec vos mots, avec vos costumes, avec votre art dramatique. Et finalement, contrairement à ce qu'il nous a dit, il nous a beaucoup dirigés et c'était très agréable de voir Woody demander une autre prise et de parler avec lui. En fait, on a beaucoup, je trouve, communiqué avec lui pendant le tournage, tous les acteurs.
Lou?
Moi, je vais un peu redire ça, c'est qu'on avait, c'est vrai, entendu pas mal de choses aussi, disant que Woody dirigeait très peu. On peut se le dire aujourd'hui, Woody. Et il s'avère que ça n'a pas du tout été le cas. Moi, j'ai pris plaisir à travailler avec quelqu'un qui essayait différentes intensités, avec beaucoup de plans séquences aussi. Et ça, je trouve que pour un acteur, c'est très agréable parce qu'on a une responsabilité qui n'est pas toujours présente selon les films qu'on fait. Et c'est plus grisant, c'est plus excitant, parce qu'il y a plus de possibilités de se tromper. Et donc, quand il y a des possibilités d'erreur, ça crée une tension aussi qui moi, m'amuse plus. Et voilà, pour la réponse. Il y avait une autre question. Ah oui, la langue. Pardon. Woody connaissait son scénario par cœur.
Comment tu as fait pour jouer en français? C'est ça la question.
Non, je suis française. Mais non, pour la langue, oui, Woody savait très bien ce qu'il avait écrit et après, il nous faisait confiance sur les... Et puis, je me rendais compte que la musicalité, finalement, est la même dans toutes les langues quand il s'agit de vérité. Parce que quand on recherche une véracité, finalement, elle se voit, même si on ne parle pas la même langue.
Congratulations on the movie. This question is for Mr. Allen. It is said that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So in the 7 decades that you have been creating, from comedy records to, scripts to directing, acting, when have you felt luck has stepped into your life? What is your own relationship to luck and opportunity?
I've been very, very lucky. Lucky my whole life. Really, I had 2 loving parents. I have good friends. I have a wonderful wife and marriage, 2 children. I'll be, in a few months, I'll be 88 years old. I've never been in a hospital. I've never had anything terrible happen to me. I've been very, very lucky my whole life. When I started making films, all the people chose to emphasize what I was able to do well and to not hold me accountable for the things that I did poorly. They were very generous to me. And I've been very lucky with my filmmaking and have had over my lifetime much undeserved praise and enormous amount of attention and respect. And so I have nothing but good fortune, and I hope it holds out. Of course, it's early this afternoon, so, but, so far I've been very lucky.
There's a question here.
For Woody Allen, does this mean you will now make a film in Italian and one in German and maybe one in Spanish with the success of this? And do you see this as a semi-sequel perhaps to Match Point or to other films in your first 50?
It's in the genre of Match Point because both films revolve around the capriciousness of luck and chance having a much more dominant impact on our lives than we care to admit. So both of those films say the same thing in different stories. But as far as filming in other countries, I don't know. It depends. Sometimes I'll get a phone call from someone in a country and say, we will finance your film if you make it in, Icelandic or some other language. And if I have an idea that's good for Italy or Germany or wherever, then I consider it. Sometimes I don't know the country well and I can't consider it. But I had such a nice experience working in France that it is something that I would certainly consider if I felt able to do it.
There's a question here.
Hi, I'm David Martos from Quinótico in Spain. Mr. Allen, I would like to ask you about your leading male character. He's what we would describe today as a toxic man. I don't know if you agree to this depiction. And I would like to ask you about the roles you write for men. Do you write differently for men now than 20, 30 years ago? Thank you.
Well, 20 or 30 years ago, I was playing the parts that I wrote. So I always wrote for myself. And I was always able to write better for women, more interesting parts for women. I don't know why. Maybe because the writers and the intellectuals who influenced me the most were Ingmar Bergman and Tennessee Williams, and these people wrote for women. And so I wrote for women, I guess, out of their impact on me. I was never able to write for men particularly well, with the exception of writing for myself. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the way it broke down in reality.
Here.
Peter Paul Huth, Germany. A question to Mr. Allen. You mentioned your admiration for Ingmar Bergman, and he has been dealing with the subject of death often, and you have been as well. And sometimes it seemed like last night, Boris Grushenko, and here death comes up again. Is a comedy or humor a possibility to fight against death, or could you elaborate on the idea of death?
I don't think there's anything you can do about it. You know, it's a bad deal, and you're stuck with it, and there's nothing much you can do. You can't really fight about it. At the end of this movie, Coup de Chance, we left on the screen the title, the undertitle, don't think about it too much. And that's the same, that's all you can really do, is not think about it too much, because there's really no way out. There's no way out through science, through philosophy, through comedy. It's a bad deal, and you just have to not think about it. That's the best you can do. You distract yourself.
This question here.
Birgit Heitzig, British cinematographer. I have a question for Mr. Storaro. So you created this music of light, and so I would like to know, this film looks so natural. What was your concept of light for this picture? Thank you.
Ma una delle cose fondamentali per la mia professione, scusate quello che ho detto prima un po' arrogantemente, ma volevo difendere proprio il fatto di rispetto per il regista e rispetto per la parola fotografia cinematografica, perché sono 50 anni o meno che stiamo cercando di cambiare questo titolo, che era un'arroganza dei miei colleghi americani degli anni 60, quando hanno formato il Directors Guild, anche i cinematografi volevano chiamarsi director per mettersi in competizione. Non si può avere due directors in un set. Quindi per me è un rispetto per il regista. Io sono un coautore della parola fotografia cinematografica, perché l'errore director of photography, non ci possono essere due direttori in set. Secondo, fotografia significa scrivere con la luce in una immagine, mentre la cinematografia è uno svolgimento dall'inizio fino a un completamento, e questo viene dalla lettura della sceneggiatura. Io devo dire che sono stato fortunato ad avere avuto dei grandi autori, dei grandi registi con cui ho potuto collaborare, e devo dire che da quando ci siamo incontrati con Woody Allen nel 2015 riconosco in lui un grandissimo sceneggiatore, scrittore proprio, oltre che un grandissimo direttore, particolarmente delle sue parole tramite gli attori. Per cui per me è fondamentale capire un concetto centrale della storia e vedere come posso io sul piano diciamo della visione usare la luce, il rapporto con l'ombra, il rapporto con i colori, il rapporto tra la luce artificiale o la luce naturale, per analizzare diciamo il concetto delle parole, e una volta che arrivo ad una idea, ad una concezione, lo presento al regista, in questo caso a Woody Allen, e lui, devo dire che mi ha fatto il più grande complimento che io potevo avere. Vittorio, quello che mi hai detto che vorresti visualizzare è esattamente quello che io ho scritto, perché torno a ripetere che la mia figura di scrivere con la luce, di cinematografo in americano, ma io mi filmo i film in cinematografia, fotografia cinematografica, è proprio esattamente questo. Cioè noi siamo praticamente parte di come un'orchestra, e nell'orchestra siamo una serie di coautori, come ci sono i vari suonatori nell'orchestra e noi ci siamo i vari coautori, ma c'è un solo conduttore, un solo regista, un solo direttore, per cui per noi è fondamentale avere un certo tipo di concetto rispetto se suono il violino o se uso la luce, ma che ha un senso rispetto a ciò che è scritto e ciò che è diretto. In pratica io senza uno scritto e senza un regista non esisto. E in questo caso, quando ho letto questa sceneggiatura, ho visto che c'era una possibilità che io amo molto, che è la dualità. C'è la possibilità di dare un certo tipo di tono cromatico al personaggio di Fanny e un tono completamente diverso al personaggio di suo marito, che era Melvil, in cui lei, come avrete visto già al film, diciamo, rappresentata come una bellissima persona, un bellissimo oggetto però da mostrare rispetto al marito. Gli dà tutto, qualsiasi cosa che può essere, perché deve essere la più bella donna e la più bella persona vicino a lui, come si rappresenta. Mentre lei cerca soltanto di essere un pochino più personale, da come è nata, da come è cresciuta e da come pensa, essere più una persona libera. E quindi quando incontra un vecchio collega di studi, eccetera, in qualche modo si risente più libera di essere se stessa. E quindi devo dare, secondo me, un tono cromatico, e ho trovato un tono cromatico più rispetto alla storia, che lei, le ore in cui poteva incontrare questa persona sono le ore del pomeriggio tramonto, e quindi un tono della luce naturale, ma nei toni caldi, solari, diciamo, e mentre tutto il rapporto che ha nella casa con suo marito è più il rapporto tra questo che sono le emozioni e quello che è l'altro che è invece il pensiero, che è il tono completamente opposto che è l'azzurro. E quindi ho cercato di trovare un sistema di usare la luce naturale, ma con la digitalizzazione della camera da presa ho non toccato nulla, ma ho dato questo tipo di tono. Uno è l'intelletto e l'altro è diciamo, l'emozione, per dare questo rapporto tra loro due. Cioè lei, anche quando è dentro la casa vicino al marito, a volte ha la sensazione di doversi sentire un attimino più libera, e lì ci sono queste tonalità che possono cambiare tra una stanza e l'altra. Ma questo è stato un concetto visivo che ho presentato a Woody e che lui ha detto: Vittorio, è quello che ha scritto, bravo.
Di Allen, intanto complimenti, il film è bellissimo. La domanda è, l'omicidio, l'adulterio e il trionfo del caso sono alla base anche di un grande film del cinema francese che è Le regole del gioco di Jean Renoir. Volevo sapere se ci aveva pensato.
I didn't think of it for this particular picture. I've always been an enormous admirer of Jean Renoir's films, and adultery and intrigue, romantic intrigue and death and adultery and murder have been the substance of drama and comedy since the Greeks. It's what's interesting to people and what's compelling and exciting and suspenseful and involving. And so my films have always touched on these things thematically and directly in the story. It's the very stuff of drama.
Hello, Mr. Allen, everyone in the panel. I'm Yannis Zoumoulakis from Athens, Greece. Congratulations for your film. I want to ask you a question regarding something with language that you mentioned before. I was wondering, since you are so much used in listening English language in your films, if that was a difficulty for you while you were listening to the actors, since you didn't understand them?
No, it was very simple, because if you see a film, for example, if you watch a film, a Japanese film, you can tell if the acting is good, realistic, and natural, or if it's dramatic and silly or too exaggerated. And the same thing here, I could tell by the body language and the emotion of the actors, without understanding the language, when they were being realistic and when they weren't. And if I ever didn't, and I wrote the words, but if they were making up their own words, which was fine, and they did whenever they felt like, if I could understand the gist of it, and if I couldn't, I would turn to the lady next to me, my assistant, and ask a question, and she would explain it to me. And so, you know, the cast read the scenario, and they understood it. It was so much out of my hands. They understood the whole thing. They were first-rate actors and actresses. They did it. I didn't have to really direct them much. The few times I had to say something, they spoke in English. Vittorio always makes me look like a hero, because, you know, so for me it was not difficult to do it in French.
There's a question here.
It's Maitam from the daily newspaper Večer in Slovenia. Mr. Allen, can you talk a little bit about how your screenwriting habits changed over the years? Do you still dedicate the same amount of time to writing each day, and do you find yourself to be more confident as a writer than you were at the beginning of your career? Thank you.
There's a few things you learn, and that's the end of it. And then every situation is very different. There are a few little things you learn from experience and trying not to be boring, which is the big trap. And I write the same way. I get up in the morning and do my exercise and have breakfast and lay down on my bed with my pencil and pad, my pen and pad, and write. And then when I'm finished, I type it up on my typewriter. I've always done that, and I do it now. And there, as I say, when you first start, there's a couple of things you learn in the first few films that are egregious. And then after you've learned that, then you don't learn anything else. Then the rest is up to you, and it depends on your inspiration.
Hello, Mr. Allen. Adam Goldman from The Forward. And I'm just wondering, you mentioned this film was supposed to initially star an American couple in Paris, and I wondered what adjustments needed to be made to the script before being able to make the film in French. Also, did the film have a different title, or was it always called Coup de Chance? And secondly, it's wonderful to see you making films in Europe, but any chance we'll have a film of yours in New York again anytime soon?
The only changes I had to make were cosmetic. When I was first going to do the film Match Point, I wrote it for the United States, and then somebody in England called me and said, "We'll back your film," and suddenly I had to make it British. These are all cosmetic changes. So I had to make, instead of an American job or Americans working in Paris, I had to switch to somebody who lived in Paris and worked there. But these are all trivial changes and simple. What was the second part of your question?
I asked if any New York based.
Oh yes, I do have. I've got a very good idea for New York, and if some guy steps out of the shadows and says, "We'll finance your film in New York," and obeying all my terrible strictures, they can't read the script, they can't know who's in it, they just give me the money and go away. If some foolish person agrees to that, then I will make the film in New York.
I like to follow up just with a question for Lou and Valérie, and it's for them to talk a little bit about the two women that they, that in the film, the two characters. They're very different, and you sometimes feel like you could be the Woody Allen character in the movie. There is something about the physics. Yeah, sometime. But anyway, if you can talk to a little bit about the characters.
Can I start? Mm-hmm. Oui. Non. Au départ, j'ai cru que c'était une femme très très intelligente et très très mode. Et Woody m'a dit juste une phrase. Il m'a dit, elle n'est pas si intelligente que ça. C'est une maman normale, et je pense qu'il a tout à fait raison, et que c'est toujours mieux qu'il arrive des choses extraordinaires à des gens ordinaires. Donc, c'était une très courte indication, et la première qui nous est faite, la seule phrase, et en fait, c'était capital, parce qu'au début de la préparation, j'ai cru autre chose, et il avait raison. C'est juste une mère qui est très aimante et très intuitive.
Lou?
Oui, et en ce qui concerne Fanny, comme ça a été déjà un peu évoqué, c'est une jeune femme qui vit dans une sorte de prison dorée, dans laquelle elle a été de son plein gré à un moment, et je pense qu'elle cherche à retrouver une partie d'elle-même qu'elle a un peu laissée en route et qui lui manque terriblement à ce moment-là de sa vie. Et dès qu'Alain apparaît, elle peut reconnecter avec quelque chose de plus libre, avec ses désirs, avec quelque chose aussi de plus jeune, de plus frais, de plus vivant, de plus physique, dont on a besoin. Et donc, c'est toute cette problématique-là. Et après, elle va être complètement en prise à sa propre culpabilité parce qu'elle a du respect pour tout le monde et elle s'en veut à elle. Et parfois, la culpabilité empêche d'être lucide. Et donc, c'est une jeune femme qui va être comme ça, voguer un peu au milieu de toutes ces problématiques-là, en acceptant les hasards et les chances.
I'm really sorry. They already come to tell me that we are run out of time, and thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Allen, for being here. Thank you to the cast and Mr. Esterra.